Nomad Dimitri, and I'm in Paris, and I'm standing at the Louvre. You can see the famous buildings of the Louvre all around me in the square that the museum embraces. It goes all around me. What I wanted to discuss with you today, not really such old things, but newer things here, because we always want to explore how the new and the old work and how they work together. About 20 years ago, I'm not sure about the dates, dates are not important, Wikipedia can give you the details, but it's about 20 years ago the Louvre needed a renovation, a major renovation. They needed more space to store artifacts, they needed to fix some things. I'm sure there was a lot of plumbing that was not working very well, and they decided to make an addition, a renovation, an addition to the museum. A very difficult thing to do given the incredibly important cultural position that this museum, the Louvre, has globally, really. I mean, it is the reference point for most of the museums in the world. There are other great museums in the world, but the Louvre is always the Louvre. And the way French do things influences the rest of the world as well, in this particular, especially in terms of culture and history and tradition, not necessarily in terms of some other things. So here was the opportunity to change the Louvre. Of course, very controversial. You can imagine the endless debates. But the French did a very, very brave thing. The first shockingly brave thing that they did is, and very unusual in France, is they hired a non-French architect. Now, it was IMP, a Chinese national, originally I believe, from Hong Kong. Details you can find on Wikipedia. But it was not a French person. It was not somebody called François or Jean-Philippe or something like that. It was somebody called IMP, and he definitely was Chinese and looked Chinese. So already you can imagine the controversy of hiring somebody that is non-French to touch the most precious jewel of French culture, the Louvre. But he did. The second thing that they did is that they let him do a modern intervention. And this modern intervention is what is known as the pyramids of the Louvre. And here they are. And here they are. One is the central one here, and there are smaller ones on the sides. Now, this is an incredible step for any country to make, but especially France. This heaven of tradition and restoration of things that are already existing. So all of a sudden the French decided to give this commission to a Chinese person and to let him build something radically modern in the heart of their most important museum, the culture jewel of France, the Louvre. And so every time I come here in these last 20, 30 years, whatever it is that this was made, I always wonder, how has it dated? After all this time, does it work? Does it still work? In terms of function, does it still do the thing that it was supposed to do? And does it provide the aesthetics that we need? Or does it wreck the place? And in my opinion, it really works. So IMP really knew what he was going for. The addition is actually quiet. It's all a matter of scale and dimension. The pyramids are there, they're big, they're brass, they're metal and glass, but they are respectful of their surroundings. They're not an ostentatious statement. They don't impose anything here. They're quiet, and the shape of the pyramid was very widely chosen because it's also a classical shape. And as we know, there are many beautiful things from Egypt, columns and pyramids and sphinxes and all kinds of things that Napoleon stole from Egypt, and they pepper Paris. So the addition of another pyramidal shape in Paris is more like a reference and certainly not a violation of anything else. I think they work beautifully. The glass is cleaned regularly by robots that kind of follow alone individually the glass surface and wash the glass, so it's always sparkling clean and new. Around the pyramids there are reflecting pools, very shallow pools, which provide a ledge for people to sit on around, and they're very, very shallow and they reflect the pyramids in the museum. Unfortunately it's winter and they're empty. And the whole story behind the pyramids, in case you haven't been here, you don't know, is of course there's a very practical reason for them. What they do is, and what Pei did, is he basically dug out all this giant place on which we're standing and create a multi-floor museum that is actually underground. And this multi-floor museum needs also to be lit. It's always better to be lit by natural light. So what these guys do is they bring natural light down below my feet to the new Louvre Museum. And that's what I wanted to describe to you today. There's so much to say about the Louvre, about Paris, about art, but I just wanted to play with the new and the old in this particular video. And I'm on now. Happy trails. Nomad Dimitri from Paris.